Hi there, I'm Vincent Boss and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing the key to unlock dumper's remorse. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. So now let's get back into today's podcast, and today we are discussing the key to unlock dumper's remorse. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, you need your ex to feel remorse. But can you influence this? In today's podcast, I'll be discussing 3 keys to unlock dumper's remorse. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is don't trip up where they expect you to. So if you've been dumped, you've got to understand the situation that you find yourself in, which is that your now ex-dumper has lost romantic emotional attraction for you. The only reason they ended the relationship is because this level of attraction went from a high point of when you were living your best life within the relationship to, unfortunately, a low point of which, when it hit the necessary low point, this is when they likely actioned the breakup. Now, if you consider this transition from feeling a high level of attraction towards you to, unfortunately, right now, feeling a low level of attraction towards you, what we can see is that they probably don't have the highest expectations of you in regards to romance. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't think you're a good person in general. It doesn't mean that they don't think you're great in certain ways. But romantically, they don't think you are a good fit. Romantically, they don't think you're hitting that high bar that they're looking for regarding a connection that they want to be a part of. So, when the relationship ends, a dumper will have some level of expectation or prediction about what is to happen next regarding you. Now, this might be conscious, this might be subconscious, but either way, they are going to be predicting your behaviour pattern from this moment of being dumped. Now, this could range in what they actually expect, but it's very important that you don't trip up where they expect you to. Now, they're expecting you to make errors. They're expecting you to almost prove their point that they have made the correct decision. So in most instances, this could probably be connected to believing that you, the dumpee, are not going to take this breakup well, and instead you're going to chase your ex, the dumper. You're going to be chasing them. So they're expecting you to trip up by not listening to them. They will be asking you to respect their decision. They'll be saying to you, the relationship is over. I don't want to be with you right now. I'm sorry, but I'm breaking up with you. However it is that they told you, they will be hoping that you listen to them, but ultimately probably expecting that you won't. So this is one of the most common expectations where they expect you to trip up. They expect you to not listen, to not respect what they are saying. And instead, what they are ultimately thinking you're probably going to do is bombard them with text messages, bombard them with calls, voicemails, knocking on their door. They're almost preparing for this instance, even though they don't want you to be doing it. Okay, so when we consider point number 1 and one of the keys to unlock dumper's remorse, we were trying to get to a stage where your ex-dumper regrets their decision, where they feel remorse about what has happened, about what they did, about the path they chose. And they're only going to be feeling remorse if they believe that they've made a wrong call, that they didn't predict accurately what took place. So when we consider point number 1 about don't trip up where they expect you to, this can be ultimately positioned at errors of judgment that you might be making by not listening to them, by not respecting them. Now, like I said, most commonly, this would be shown in you texting your ex, calling your ex, knocking on their door, but there could be other aspects as well, which would be very much connected to you and your now ex's personal circumstances, things which aren't generalized. This could be something which nobody in a million years could predict other than you two, something that is very much just a unique element of your relationship. Now, I'm going to try and just give a random example, which of course is very unlikely to connect with you, but you will see where I'm going with this. Let's just say, for instance, that you two were in a relationship that was going really well for a time. Unfortunately, things started to fall apart for various reasons. Your ex-dumper, as we were to be, started to lose romantic emotional attraction for you. And during this time, maybe, for instance, they had a level of paranoia that you spoke about your relationship and all of the privacy that they would expect you to keep between you, that you were sharing this with a third party, maybe a friend, for instance. Maybe you had a best friend that you were telling everything to. Maybe this is why they lost romantic emotional attraction, Maybe they thought accurately or inaccurately that you were telling your friend lots of personal things that they didn't want you to say. Okay, and this is why maybe they lost romantic emotional attraction, they end the relationship, and in this instance, when we're talking about don't trip up where they expect you to, they might be expecting you to be speaking to this friend post-breakup and telling them even more secrets, even more privacy, even more elements that they really trusted you to keep. They're now probably expecting you to tell them absolutely everything, the few remaining things that you haven't already. And they're probably thinking, look, they did it during the relationship almost completely, but maybe they kept a few things back, but right now the relationship's over, I can almost guarantee that my dumpee is going to tell their friend everything. And then before I know it, it's going to be around, people's going to be speaking to each other, yada, yada, yada. You know where I'm coming from on this. So in that instance, it would be so important that you don't trip up where your ex-dumper expects you to. So if this situation does actually tie in with you, which, it probably won't, but it was a very unique scenario, but you can see what I'm saying here. Look and consider what your ex-dumper might be expecting you to do as an error of judgment, and make sure that you don't trip up, make sure that you don't make the bad move that they predict. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast. Please like this video if you're watching on YouTube and subscribe to the channel. And point number 2 is grow in ways they didn't predict. So in point number 1, we was talking about things that you might be making mistakes of, that they are almost expecting you to do and that they're going to be almost watching to see if you make these errors. Point number 2 is almost the opposite of this. We're now talking about you growing in a way that they didn't predict. So this could be various ways, again, connected to your unique circumstances. One somewhat common example, though, could be that you really improve your health and fitness. Now, very few of us indeed are at optimum health and fitness. Very few of us could honestly say that we really are perfect with our health and fitness. This is something which constantly takes work. It's a life process that we need to maintain. Now, this is just one common example. There will always be millions of other unique examples, of course, to you. But in this instance, we're having a situation where your ex-dumper doesn't believe that you're ever going to get into shape. Maybe this is why you were dumped. Maybe it wasn't, but they still believe in their mind that you're never going to be one to get better within your health and fitness. So if you can grow within this, and this would mean in this regard that you look after yourself much better, making sure you get enough sleep, making sure you eat healthy, making sure you get regular exercise, making sure you remove bad substances from your life. Doing all of these things are going to help your health and fitness. They're going to make sure that you're also a healthier weight. They're going to get you into a position where you're more physically attractive because you are healthier. Now again, this may be the reason you were dumped in the first place. Maybe they lost physical attraction towards you, or perhaps it wasn't the case, but still they never thought you would ever put in that extra effort to look even better. If you want to understand one of the most important keys to unlock dumpers' remorse, it is the fact that you need to be growing in ways that they didn't predict, growing in ways that they didn't see coming. Maybe, for instance, you're somebody who've always worked the same job. Maybe you complain about this job all of the time, but you don't seem to be showing any impetus about getting a new job, something that you might actually enjoy and spend less time moaning about. In this regard, this could be a scenario where you decide to join a new college course to get a new qualification. So, in the future, you might be able to get a different job in a different sector to one you're doing right now, and maybe something that you actually enjoy more. Again, if your ex-dumper truly didn't believe you would ever change, then this is going to be a surprise, a positive, pleasant surprise, if and when they find out that you are growing in this realm. You're being somebody who has got more desire, more ambition, more get up and go to try and achieve your goals. So this is why when we consider the keys to unlock dumpers' remorse, it's not just about not tripping up where they expect you to. It's actually about growing in ways that they didn't predict. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast about the key to unlock dumpers' remorse. And point number 3 is give them the gift. Now, when you hear me say give them the gift, I'm not talking about you physically buying something you think they might like and send it to them in the post. I'm not talking about you knocking on their door and handing them over a gift or some flowers or whatever it is you may have actually considered doing potentially, because in general, just to go off quickly on a slight tangent here, I strongly believe that giving your ex a gift is not a good idea. I would honestly say to you that in most instances, if you make a grand gesture like giving your ex a gift or a present, this is not likely to regrow the romantic emotional attraction necessary to get your ex back into a relationship. This is not how you can grow that attraction. Yes, they might be pleased for a moment, although often they might be somewhat freaked out and not understanding why somebody they told to please leave me alone is now knocking on their door and handing them a present. But I digress. When I speak about give them a gift, give your ex-dumper a gift, I'm actually speaking about give them the gift of your absence. And I call it a gift because this is something that, if implemented correctly, can get your ex to a position where they truly feel remorse. And if this means that you one day get back together, then this could be seen as a gift. You are giving them a gift for them to be able to see things clearly. Your ex can only miss you if you're no longer in their life. Your ex can only feel your worth if you're no longer there at their fingertips. And that's why it's absolutely vital, in my opinion, when we consider the keys to unlock dumpers' remorse, is that it's not just about making sure you don't make mistakes. It's not just about you trying to grow and be a better person than they predict, but it's also about removing yourself from their orbit. Now, your ex-dumper is going to be going through what I refer to as the single honeymoon period. They're probably going to be living their life in ways that you are not particularly fond to hear about. Maybe they are spending time with people that you wish they didn't. Maybe they're even going on dates, and this is making you feel really awkward. However, they need to get this out of their system. They need to live their life the way that they need to live it. And if you are there, texting them all the time, you act as their safety net. They know that they can make any mistake they need because you are there to push up their value, be that safety net, and provide them with a feeling that they are the king or they are the queen. Now, instead of this, you need to give them the gift of your absence. You need to remove yourself. In my belief, most dumpees should never contact their ex again unless their ex contacts them first. And what this does is it removes the safety net. And when the safety net isn't there, then if and when your ex-dumper doesn't feel that they're having a great day, a great week, a great month, they're not going to have that helping hand pushing them further up back onto that pedestal. Instead, they're going to feel somewhat lonely. They're going to feel that the life that they have chosen has not been as exciting as they hoped, and they also now feel that the life they left behind is no longer waiting for them. It's so important to recognise that remorse can only be felt if somebody feels that probably they're not going to be able to turn this around. Now, of course, you want your ex back, and therefore they will have a chance to turn this around, but they're only going to get to that position of reaching out to you if they feel that they can't. If they believe that you're always going to be there, they are never likely to ever miss you. And if they don't miss you, they won't regret their decision, they won't feel remorse, and you actually, ironically, probably won't get back together. However, if they believe that you've really moved forward with your life, making your own new connections, living your own life to the full, and you don't need them because you're not chasing them and you're not there as their safety net, you're actually going to become a lot more attractive to your ex-dumper. You're actually going to be more alluring. You're going to be somebody who's more mysterious. You're going to be somebody with a higher value. You're going to be pulling them in towards you to the stage where they feel like begging you. Now, it might not come across as them begging you, but if and when you receive contact from your ex-dumper, it means they're thinking about you. Somebody doesn't reach out for no reason. If they reach out to you, they're thinking about you. Ultimately, they're missing you. And if they're missing you, this is dumper's remorse. And this is why these were the 3 keys to unlock your ex's remorse. If you believe that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description.